Good afternoon. Welcome to Clay Road Baptist Church noon update on Tuesday. It's May the 12th, 2020, in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. And so we got lots of news today, a lot of things to get accomplished. But we're glad you're tuning in with us here live on Facebook. And we know that many of you will watch this later on YouTube. First of all, we had a marvelous, wonderful day back. This past Sunday on Mother's Day, we had about 47 in the first service, 30-something in the second service, for a total of about 81 present here, wearing masks and physically spacing and all that stuff. But we're glad to just be able to come back and worship the Lord together. And we want to invite those of you who feel like you're ready to come back and be with us. We do have a few updates on the coronavirus itself. In the United States, I left out the world numbers, but in the United States, we had 1,392,422 cases, total cases. Much less than that are active, but they did have 6,588 new cases yesterday, all over the United States. And so the two big hot spots, I think, are the state of Georgia and another state. The virus has killed 82,205 Americans here in the United States, but 263,598 have recovered, and so that's good news. Here in Texas, a little closer to home, we have 40,000 cases in the state of Texas. That's a significant increase of about 8,000 people from last week. We currently in the state of Texas have 40,855 confirmed cases. There were under 1,000 new cases reported yesterday or today, but we've had 1,153 Texans fall to coronavirus, but yet 23,592 have recovered. As we narrow it down just a little bit more, here in Harris County, Houston, we currently have 8,176. That is just a little over 1,100 new cases since last week, and so kind of a number to be stuck out there. I don't really know how many deaths in the Houston-Harris County. It didn't show that to me today for some reason. That number was missing. We know that as of last week we had about 140. But yet Houston-Harris County, new cases, what I didn't have. I have 179 deaths, so it's been 39 since last week. And then 3,138 have recovered. Moving in a little bit closer into our area, let me just share the 3 or 4 zip codes. 77024, which is in our area, reported 68 cases. That's a 3-case increase from last week. 77043 had 14 new cases for a total of 42 cases. 77055 had about 23 new cases for a total of 84 cases, and 77080 had a significant increase of about 23, which is where our church is actually located. So in the last week, we've had 23 reported cases in our zip code. So I just want to let you know that the coronavirus is still out there. Many people out in the community have kind of laxed in their usage of masks and the usage of personal spacing, but it's still very important. It's also extremely important you wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, that type of thing, because the virus is still active. Even though the numbers are down, it's still very active in our community. I thought too, maybe today, just to kind of touch base on some of the things. We have minimum health protocols for our church. We will be having another service this coming Sunday, so we invite you to come and be a part of that. There will be 2 services, one at 9:30 in the morning for those at risk. You will be asked to wear a mask. You will encounter hand sanitation stations at every door. Just like we did last week, we will maintain some physical spacing, but you're welcome to be here. So the morning service is at 9:30 in the morning for those at risk. You will come in the east and west parking lots and those side doors, just like last week. And the ones who come to the later service at 11 o'clock, that service is for those who are not as at risk, younger people, have kids, that kind of thing. And they will be here at 11, and they will use the rear entrances of the facility. Last week went off really smoothly. We had enough volunteers, and we sanitized all the seats and the doors and everything between the services. And so we're doing the best we can to keep you virus-free here at Clay Road Baptist Church. We want to continue to do the best we can do, and yet at the same time be able to gather together in worship of the Lord. If you're still sick or you still do not want to get out because you're at risk, we understand that. We're committed to continuing these live online services at least through the end of this month, probably at least through June 7th. And then after that, we will take a look at it and see. I had hoped that beginning very soon we'd be back to one service, but because of the number of people that are coming and because it's just working so well, we are going to continue to do it this way for 2 more weeks. So both this coming Sunday and the 24th, so the 17th and the 24th will both be 2 services, just like we did last week, no child care, no Sunday school. And that's the way we feel that's is best meets the interest of all that are concerned, and we're going to reevaluate bringing back Sunday school and child care a little later toward the 1st of June. And so that's the official statement from Pastor Bruce at Clay Road Baptist Church and kind of where we are. The good news is we're no longer suspending our services. We're going to have live services, and you can attend on Sunday and or Wednesday. And so we're just thankful. We're in the auditorium now. We got plenty of room in here, and we have plenty of antiseptic or whatever they call that stuff that's cleans things. And then we have plenty of hand sanitizer, and we're ready for those who want to get together and worship the Lord together. Giving platforms. I don't know if we have the screens ready yet. Maybe we do. So you can text to give by dialing 45777 and putting in at CRBC to that number, and you can text to give. You can also go to our website, and on the website there's a give button, so you go to clayroad.org/give, and you can give that way. You can also mail a check here to Clay Road Baptist Church, 9151 Clay Road, 77080. We're in Houston, Texas, and we need your support, and we're thankful for it. We are still waiting on the state and waiting on the governor and waiting on safer times before we consider opening our child care facilities. And our child care workers are extremely, they're at risk, and so we're working on all of that, and we will let you know as soon as we feel like we can safely open that. But it looks like it's going to be the 1st of June before our official child care is open. It may, in fact, be the 1st of June before even our church child care people can step up. We don't actually know yet. So in the meantime, we're going to do the best we can to bring you relevant information every Tuesday and let you know how things went. This past Sunday was a great Sunday. We had 81 in worship here at the church. We had over 40, about 30-something online, and that wasn't counting the ones that watched us later on YouTube, because I haven't actually looked at those numbers, but it was several hundred. And so we're glad that that you're watching and that you're trying to stay connected here at Clay Road Baptist Church. A lot of you are sharing us with people around the world. We're thankful for that as well, and thankful to be able to be a voice of reason and to present the gospel to people that ordinarily maybe wouldn't watch our services or be involved here at Clay Road. And so we want to thank for the many comments that we've gotten, the letters, some of the financial support that's come in has come in from people out of state or out of town. We thank you for that. We're just thankful to be able to be here and to help you get through this extremely strenuous time. Pass the word too on our ability to dial a sermon, which is kind of cool. Most people who have computers are going to connect this way, but we do have a service that does not require any online presence or any computers or anything. In fact, it doesn't even require a smartphone. And you can do that by using Dial a Sermon. And the number on Dial a Sermon is 281-729-5298. And that will get you the Sunday or the Wednesday sermon, whichever is the most recent, to the time you call. There's no charge for you to call that unless you're calling long distance from out of state somewhere and not using a cell phone. There would be a long distance charge. But otherwise, there's no long distance charge, and you can hear just the sermon only. You can also see or hear that on our website. But we did add one special thing. Connie, my wife Connie, has been doing these Bible studies, ladies' Bible studies, then lots of men have been participating as well. She just finished dealing with fear or overcoming fear, and now she's doing a Bible study on standing on the promises of God. And we have added a phone line specifically for those Bible studies. The number for that is 832-974-2858. And you can call that number and hear the Bible study for that week. And so be blessed by being able to do that. I thought before I leave today, I'd like to share one other message with you out of Psalm 37. And we've been in the Psalms primarily throughout this COVID experience because they're so relevant. It's where we are. And so I thought this morning my attention was drawn in my own personal time to Psalm 37 because there he talks about the age-old question of why the rich seem to prosper when everyone else doesn't, or the rich prosper and the godly suffer. And so Psalm 37 is about that. And I'm not going to do the entire psalm today because it's going to take too long, so I'm going to just do 6 verses, and then we're going to split this psalm up, and I'll share some more of it next week. But Christians often struggle with the question of why do bad people prosper and Christians seem to struggle? You know, the world even points out examples to try to prove their hypothesis. There is no God. And so people will say there's no God. If there was a God, then why did the innocent suffer, right? Those that have lost faith will say things like, I've tried to live a Christian life. I've been faithful to God. I've been faithful to the church. And yet when I prayed that he would heal my daughter, my mother, my son, God was silent. Where is God? Why do people that don't even profess to be Christians, don't ever pray for his intervention, yet their child lives? They seem to prosper. Why did so-and-so have to die? God doesn't care. Or they might question God by saying, God, why do you allow terrorists to kill so many innocent people? What have we done to deserve all this? That was the exact question of Job. Well, this is another psalm, Psalm 37, that poses the question, why do the wicked prosper while the obedient child of God seems to suffer? It's a psalm of questions followed by answers and support. And it asks and answers its own questions. It was evidently written in the latter years of David's life, according to verse 25, which we will read that verse today, but we're only going to go through verses 1 through 6. But it's a valuable testimony from a time and trial-tested follower of God. In fact, in other words, this psalm contains the voice of experience, not just theory and promise. You see, David experienced much in this life. He saw it all, and we will benefit by listening to the wisdom of someone who's been through so many different things, both positive and negative. So he was hunted like an animal. He saw members of his own family killed. He struggled with dysfunctional relationships. David has been there. He knows how you feel. And David presents in this psalm 2 contrasting responses to the prosperity of the wicked. He says, here's the way you can respond to the seeming prosperity of the wicked. One is with peaceful perseverance, and the other is with frantic fret. This psalm shares silver-haired experience and wisdom concerning the difference between waiting for God and worrying. He begins in verses 1 through 6 with the wilted grass versus the blazing light. Hear the word of God. Do not fret because of evildoers, and be not envious toward wrongdoers, for they will wither quickly like the grass and fade like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he will do it. He will bring forth your righteousness as the high, and your judgment as the noonday. He begins with this contrast between wilted grass and blazing light. You see, the apparent prosperity of the wicked should never distract the righteous from appreciating the providence of God in the present and anticipating the prosperity of God in the future. The Bible's permeated with this central truth that God will in fact judge the wicked, and he will in fact reward the righteous. People that stop in the middle of the race to evaluate where they stand seldom run well. In other words, we don't want to stop in the middle of the race to look around and evaluate what place we're in, because people who do that seldom win. In these verses, David shares 5 keys to staying focused to the finish line. 5 keys for not getting distracted. And I want to give those to you today. The first one is this: to have a peaceful spirit. To adopt the motto that says, "It is well with my soul." Do you know the story behind that song? That song was written when a man had lost his entire family at sea. And as he is on his way to his wife's hospital over in Europe, they pass where the ship had gone down and his daughters were drowned. And they said, "We're over the spot where that took place." And he began to go out on the boat to the bow of the ship and begin to pen these words: "When peace like a river attendeth my way, it is well with my soul." You see, don't get eaten up with worry or with envy. That's the first thing he says. Don't fret because of evildoers. Fret. Other versions say, don't be upset. Don't worry. David wants to make extra sure that we get the message. In fact, he repeats the command 2 other times, once in verse 7 and once in verse 8. The Hebrew word there is kara. And kara is to be hot, to worry, to have heartburn, indigestion, to fume and be vexed. And David understands that worry is a problem for God's people. Why would he know that? Well, because he had been there. He had times of worry in the past. But now he is older. He's learned the futility of worrying. And Jesus said this in Matthew 6:27, "Can any of you add a single cubit to his height by worrying?" As a child of God, we need to learn how to cast off worry. As it says in 2 Peter, to cast our cares upon him because he cares for you. David's next encouraging command is not only don't fret, but don't be envious. Don't be jealous of the prosperity of evil people. Don't be jealous if they seem to financially prosper and you seem to struggle paycheck to paycheck. See, David explains why in verse 2. He says, the evil are like grass. Now, grass may look lush and it may be green for a season, but listen to me, grass is temporary. It will not stand up to severe stress. It'll turn brown, it'll shrivel up, and it will die. A beautiful yard takes a tremendous amount of hard work. All of the factors must be met. They must have the proper pH. It must have the proper light, the proper water, the proper fertilizer, the proper disease control. And when you get all of that into play, then grass flourishes. But truthfully, it's only for a season. Grass is temporary. Let me tell you what's not temporary. The noonday sun. The noonday sun needs no care. It is self-sufficient. It only needs God to lift it up, and it breaks forth in beautiful light. So the prosperity of your accusers is temporary. And here's the next thing. Remember this. Grass can't hurt the sun. The second thing he says here is don't let the vision of the present blind you to the vision of the future. We develop monovision for some reason. And so then he says, number one thing is what? We're supposed to not fret, have a peaceful spirit. It is well with my soul. And then secondly, have an active faith. Verse 3, trust and obey him. Trust in the Lord. Do good. Don't go into a shell and wait for your fortunes to turn. The time to manifest faith is when the pressure is on. Pressures and trials are not exemptions from sacrificially following God. See, God never says for us to only follow him when it's expedient, when it's comfortable, and when it's easy. David says to trust God even in the bad times, to prove him even in the bad times. The third thing here, he says, another thing for us to remember is to have a contented life. In the last part of verse 3, he says we're to dwell in the land, to cultivate or to feed on faithfulness. Great is his faithfulness. Don't doubt the ability of the Lord to provide for his flock and to shepherd us. See, discontentment actually causes us to search around trying to obtain something that we think God is withholding from us. It's a vicious cycle. The shepherd led you here, and he knows, in fact, what is best for you. He can sustain you through it. Then fourthly, he says to focus our desire. Focus desire. David doesn't say, delight yourself in the things of the world. He doesn't say, delight yourself in material things. Delight yourself in pursuing earthly pleasures. In fact, David doesn't even say, work hard, put your nose to the grindstone, and you will succeed. No. David says this, delight yourself in the Lord. If we lose our focus and we start chasing every promising road out there, it usually leads us down the path of futility. Discontentment leads to wandering. And so David says, delight in the Lord. And if we do, what will take place? He will give us the desires of our heart. Just wait for it. And then finally, the fifth thing he says here is to submit our will. A submitted will in verse 5 and 6. Reminds me of the song Fanny Crosby wrote, all the way my Savior leads me. Because all the way, whether it's a bad time or a good time, whether it's in the shadow of death or whether it is in lush green pastures, my Lord is leading me. And so David says, commit your way to the Lord. The Hebrew word there is galal, and it means to roll over. In other words, David's saying to roll it over on God. Just like Peter said, to cast our cares upon him. Put yourself in God's hands. Place your trust in his plan for your life. Yield to him. Look to him for strength. Look to him for guidance. Other verses say, rest in the Lord. Well, we can't rest if we're discontent. So we need to stop the murmuring, the complaining, and just silently submit and wait for God. Because personal vindication comes from the Lord, not from us proclaiming our own righteousness. And we, in fact, can be at peace even when we're under attack. You just do the possible. and allow God to do the impossible. It may seem that the wicked prosper, but as I close, I want you to listen as David tells us once again in his own words why we can and why we should stay firm. Look at verse 25 and 26. I have been young, and now I'm old. Yet I have not seen the righteous abandoned or his children begging bread. He is always generous, always lending, and his children are a blessing. David said, look, I was a young boy, and I faced lions and bears, and I took care of sheep, yet I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I was a young boy facing a giant, yet I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I was a young man facing a powerful, vengeful king, Saul, who wanted to kill me, yet I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I hid in caves, fearful for my life, yet God brought me out. I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I was a king, and my own son rebelled against me and tried to have me killed, yet I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I know what it is to hear the accolades of man. I know what it is to hear their cheers turn into jeers. I've experienced both favor and disdain. I've been given undue credit, and I've felt the pain of unmerited blame. I've been favored, and I've been a fugitive. I've danced, and I've drowned in bitter tears. I've feared, and I have been feared. Honey, I've been there. But this one thing I know, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or the seed of the Lord begging bread. He's always generous. He's always responsive. And his children are always blessed. God bless you. We'll see you right here tomorrow night at 6. Have a great day.